Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. In today's video I will analyze the statement made in a tweet, I think, by an US ambassador in Ukraine. And I will tell you from the very beginning that she is either an ignorant or she is evil, or, if I may add another one, could be both. So let me read you the tweet and then we can analyze it. This article comes from European Pravda from today, Friday, July 15th, 2022. And this is the title: US ambassador compared Russian attacks on Ukraine with Nazis' atrocities in Babin Yar. And I'm starting the article by reading this. US Ambassador Bridget Brink called on the world to help Ukraine protect itself from Russia. And I'm quoting: "My walk through Babin Yar was a sobering reminder of Nazi horrors committed against Jews and others, which Russian missiles made all too real again, striking nearby and killing innocents. We must never forget, and we must help Ukraine defend against these latest atrocities," end quote. Bridget Brink tweeted. So this is the woman right here. Okay, something like that. It's too large light. Anyway, so she is in front of menorah, right? Jewish candle, is that how you call it? And let's analyze a little bit what she says here. On Thursday around 11, Russian missiles struck business complex in central Ukraine city of Vinnytsia. As a result of the missile, more than 20 people were killed and dozens were injured. Remember, more than 20 people were killed and dozens were injured. EU High Representative of the European Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Josep Borrell, and European Commissioner of Humanitarian Aid and Crisis Management, Janez Zanarčič, strongly condemned the attack and stated that the violations and crimes committed by the Russian army and its political leadership would not stay unpunished. Well, I hope not. I hope they get punished. If civilians were targeted, by all means, whomever targeted them should be punished and, respond in front of the answer in front of the law. You agree with that? I agree with that. But let me read you some little things here. So you just point out certain things that I learned during my life. It says here that Nazi horrors committed against Jews and others. It's almost never those others mentioned. It's always the Jews, but the other ones are others. Because if I ask you who's the others, maybe you can point to one or two groups, but there are more than one and two groups. But I know that if I ask you the next question, okay, how many of them were killed? You would not know. You would not know. But if I would ask you, do you know how many Jews were killed? I'm 99% certain that you know the number, especially in the Western countries and in Europe. Why? Well, you figured it out. In this case, it's almost always Jews and others. Does that tell you that some have maybe a little bit more value than others? And this kind of, I don't know how to call it, enumeration? And then it's another term that the same guys use: we must never forget. That's a saying, never forget, that comes from the first group, because the other ones you don't know who they are. Nevertheless, that was the easy part of this video. Now let's go to the hard part of this video. Do you know, have you ever heard about the bombardment of Dresden, the German city of Dresden in the Second World War? Well, if you do, then you understand exactly where I'm going. If you don't, let me inform you, and then we can contrast these two events. It's never legal, appropriate to kill anybody, especially civilians here, okay? So, bombing of Dresden. I will read it from the Wikipedia, which is a very friendly source in this case, friendly to the perpetrators I'm talking. And it says, the bombing of Dresden was a joint British and American aerial bombing attack on the city of Dresden, the capital of the German state of Saxony, during the World War II, in 4 raids, bombardments, between 13 and 15 of February 1945, when Germany was already on its knees. Heavy 1945, 772 heavy bombers. So 772 heavy bombers. They flew, not like now you have 3 HIMARS and 3 rockets a day, okay? Of the Royal Air Force, RAF, and 527 of the United States Army Air Forces. So there would be 772 plus 527 would be about 1,200, almost 1,300. So 1,300 planes, 1,300 planes in 3 flights, okay? Dropped more than 3,900 tons of heavy explosive bombs on incendiary devices on the city. The bombing and the resulting firestorm destroyed more than 1,600 acres, that's 6.5 square kilometers, of the city center. So they dropped it in the city center. They didn't drop it at the military installation, army, city center. An estimated, and this is very conservative estimate, an estimated 22,700 to 25,000 people were killed. 3 more US AAF air raids followed. So this is 25. I'm going to take the maximum because I read some books and they go as far and say Hamburg and Dresden to have about 100,000 killed. But these guys were $25,000. People, civilians, my God, only money. See, living in a capitalist country. But it's not their fault, it's mine. I came here, they didn't ask me to come. So, I have another article from the New World Encyclopedia. Bombing of Dresden in World War II. And here it says this. The firebombing consisted of by then standard methods dropping large amounts of high explosive to blow off the roofs to expose the timbers within buildings, followed by incendiary devices, fire sticks to ignite them, and then more high explosive to hamper the efforts of the fire services. You understand what it was? They burned them to death. This eventually created a self-sustaining firestorm with temperatures peaking at over 1,500 degrees Celsius. 1,500 degrees Celsius, the fire. After the area caught fire, the air above the bombed area became extremely hot and rose rapidly. Cold air then rushed in at ground level from the outside and people were sucked into the fire. All right. And then it says, I'm going to tell you how many houses were killed, were destroyed, how many people were killed. So out of 28,410 houses in the inner city of Dresden, 24,866 were destroyed. Out of 28,000, 24,000 were destroyed. An area of 15 square kilometers was totally destroyed. Those guys over there like 6 square. But this is, among that, 14,000 homes, 72 schools, 22 hospitals, 18 churches, 5 theaters, 50 banks and insurance companies, 31 department stores, 31 large hotels, 62 administration buildings and factories. In total, there were 222,000 apartments in the city. The bombing affected more than 80% of them, with 75,000 of them being totally destroyed. 11,000 severely damaged, 7,000 damaged and 81,000 slightly damaged. The size of the city was more than 300 square kilometers in area at the time. And let's go here and see. The estimates are made difficult by the fact that the city and surrounding suburbs, which had a population of 642,000 people in 1939, was crowded at the time with up to 200,000 refugees and thousands of wounded soldiers. So it says the earlier reputable estimates varied from 25,000 to more than 60,000, but historians now view around 25,000 to 35,000 as the likely range. So now let's talk about that and what that ambassador was talking. Now, I'm not defending any of this. I'm just pointing out of the size and the how do you call it, the size and the context. The Russians hit Ukrainian cities bad. How many people died over there? 20 and dozens injured. That's a tragedy. Let's go to the Jews and others that were killed by the Nazis in that particular city or area. How many do you think there were? I don't have a number, but she's talking about that, comparing that with the Nazis and the Russians. But she doesn't know, or she doesn't want to mention her own country destroying purposely civilians with the Great Britain. That's fact. That's reality. Now, if the Russians who perpetrated those things should be war criminals, yes, then the Nazis are war criminals already. What about the third category, the third event? And don't forget, if killing civilians is a war crime, which it is, then the people who ordered and who perpetrated the killing of those Chinese in their embassy in Belgrade in 1999, hit by US bombs, also should be war criminals if we use the same law for everyone. So her tears, crocodile tears, I will believe only when she is fair across the whole spectrum, which she's not ready to say that. So, you know, when I hear these kind of things, when you know things from the past, and I can give you examples, I'm not going to go to the atomic bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that's too easy. It's more than this, all right? It's more than this. But once you know these things, she doesn't know it, she's an ignorant. She knows it and she is ignoring it, she's evil. Or maybe both, I don't know, who knows. Nevertheless, thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just across the spectrum.